Yo, what's up, everybody? My name is UltimatDjz. I'm your friendly neighborhood feline of 9, your neighborhood cat Borg, here to talk to you a little bit about what's coming up here this month in the February Assimilation Part 2. That's right. We've got all kinds of stuff. And some of you guys have heard a little bit of something about it. Let's go ahead and hop on in to what we can show you here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to go ahead and knock this piece out because a lot of people have been talking about this leak or whatever that they heard. Something about a new Vidar A. Well, it's not actually called the Vidar A. It's called the Talios. The Vidar Talios. That's what it's called right there, folks. It is a Tier 12 ship. It is an anti-Borg ship, obviously. There's going to be exocomps for boosting it. It unlocks at Shipyard 35. And it does not require a Tier 9 Vidar if you want to buy it. But there is a free-to-play path on this ship this month, which I'll explain in a moment. The ship's ability is to increase damage against Borg targets, just like the Vidar. All right. In addition, you can also pick up extra exocomps to assist you and your team as you take on a new Borg expansion cube, which is a group armada that's being introduced this month. We'll talk more about those coming up. These exocomps will come from the Borg Solo Armadas if you use this new Talios. So think of it like this is the Defiant. In the Bajoran loop, the Talios is meant to be used as one of the 3 ships used in a Borg Solo Armada. The Exo drops from the Borg Solo Armada loot chest, not the refinery, so 100% of wins on Borg Solo Armadas will drop the Exo. The Exo then affects the target, the Borg expansion cube. It affects the target, so it's a group armada. If, say, 5 or 6 players in your group armada all use the tally, that's what I'm going to call it, the tally, and they pop this Exo against the target, you'll actually be able to reduce the damage from the expansion cube by up to 72%. Essentially, it's 12% per Exo per player, but it only affects it if you're using the Talios. So if you fly other ships against these targets, then they are going to be significantly more challenging. Regarding the expansion cube directives, because yes, why wouldn't they be different directives? But they do have a circular loop within the Borg Solo Armadas. The Borg expansion cube directives will be added kind of in a trickle drop from the Borg Solo Armada loot chest right alongside those new Exos. So when you do Borg Solo Armadas, you will earn the directives for the new Borg expansion cube as well. These expansion cubes will drop Borg vinculums. That's the loot that will come back to the Borg refinery for a new advanced refinery option that contains rewards that do remain a mystery to me, alongside this month's new Borg officers. I do know about that part. These targets, and we'll talk more about that later, these targets are absolutely massive and will be very, very challenging and will likely require at least a couple of tallies because you're going to need that damage reduction from the Exos. Trying these with non-Talios ships will be extremely challenging, if not impossible, so I'm told. Sourcing on the Vidar Talios is actually nice this month, though, guys. Of course, a pack will be available on day 1 if you want to do that. However, also on day 1, you're going to get a mission that will actually source 50% of the necessary tally blueprints upon completion. You then could choose to buy the other half, or you can wait it out, because on day 8, a second mission will drop that will finish sourcing the tally absolutely free. However, there is a cost of admission. You gotta be Ops 35, and you have to have a Tier 9 Vidar. You're only going to get these missions if you have a Tier 9 Vidar, but this does not require you to give up your original Vidar. There's no scrapping, and it does not require you to, sacrifice your previous ship, so you'll be able to keep your original Vidar and build this new tally absolutely free by, presumably, day 8. Upgrade cost will remain the same, at least as the original, at least as far as it pertains to the currency, charged nanoprobes, and it's gonna take a bunch, but you'll earn a bunch through the new and improved Borg refinery. This refinery, however, doesn't unlock until you build the new tally. As a quick note of reference, I mentioned a few moments ago that you would eventually ideally be using the tally as one of your 3 ships in the Borg Solo Armadas, but for those of you higher G5 players, we're also being told that the ship's warp range will scale not only with the ship, but you're also going to get an ops-locked warp range research for the Tally specifically that should allow this ship to be able to get to your needed warp ranges for these targets at a very early stage. So that's actually a good thing that came out of game design. Upon building this ship, you're going to receive all new bundles. That means your old Borg refinery disappears and a new Borg refinery comes out. And I would have loved to have been able to show you some of that data. I'm actually looking forward to analyzing the cost on these bundles as related to their payouts, but at the time of taping, the math was unavailable, and of course, we'll help you determine it over the next couple of days as to whether or not Scopely actually got the math on this refinery correct. I am obviously cautiously looking forward to seeing the data. Now, if the math does hold, Scopely tells us that this will significantly increase the number of FKR faction credits and independent credits that pay out as you tier up the new Tally. We shall see what Scopely launches in this new charged nanoprobe refinery. Of course, I mentioned earlier that none of this really matters up front because you'll need at least every last charged nanoprobe to upgrade this ship for a while. What does kind of make the prime charged nanoprobe refinery that came out last month, maybe it makes it a little bit more worth it now, especially long term for the independent credit sourcing potentially. There will also be 4 new Talios-based research nodes in the Starship tree. Speaking of research, you should know that the Outlaw node for assimilated loot, it's not actually going to work. Let me see if I can pull this up for you. Actually, I got it queued up right here. That's in the Starships tree. I'll show you some of the ones that do work. But for the purposes of the new Tally refinery, you will note, let's see, where is it? Right here, this one, assimilated credit yield. This one will not actually function with the new refinery. So what they've done is actually increase the independent credits. So they say in the new refinery to kind of replace the bonus that came from this one. So this research will no longer work once you have built the Tally. However, a lot of the other Borg researches will. Let's go back over to the Starships tree and we'll point this out. For example, Prime Borg rewards, this one right here, that will continue to work. So you will still get faction, double indie, and reputation increases as well out of that. Also, Prime Active Nanoprobe Refining will remain good as well. Nanoprobe Hunter will not because it does specify the Vidar, so that one's not going to work. But also, with regards to your Fleet Commander skills, anything that was Borg related from the Kirk and Locutus trees will also still remain good, even though I thought this was interesting, and maybe this will change once the game comes back up for maintenance. But you'll note over here that let's see, that's Borg Solo Armada's right here. This does also say Vidar, but we have been assured that the Locutus skills will work with the new Tally. All right, enough about this refinery, okay? Enough about it. I mentioned earlier that the new cubes are going to be sourcing a loot called Vinculums. What I didn't say is what the rewards were, or maybe I did. No, probably not, because I don't know, other than the new Borg officers, and there are 3, so let's break those cats down. First, we got the rare officer, Dazok. I think he's Dazok. There he is right there. That is Dazok. He has no captain's maneuver, okay? Only an officer ability, and probably where he truly belongs, on a below deck slot right there. His officer ability, though, is when fighting Borg Solo Armadas, he's going to increase your officer stats by X percentage for the duration of combat. But the best ability, I think, comes in the below deck ability, which is at the start of each round in PvP. If the opponent's whole health is below 95%, then Dazok has X percentage chance to assimilate it for 4 rounds. Well, that sounds simple enough. What is to assimilate? What is assimilation in this game? Well, it's a brand new ability or a state of being in the game, at least this time specific to PvP, like morale or hull breach or burning. To assimilate an enemy will reduce the opponent's officer abilities by 25%. Yikes. Testing is going to be needed to see if this is a divisive ability or a subtractive ability, but either way, it's damaging to the vast majority of PvP crews, including strike teams. Now, the card doesn't say PvP only, but it does only affect officer abilities. Well, armadas and hostiles don't have officer abilities. Some G5 targets do have abilities, but they apparently are not coded as officer abilities, so for now, this remains a PvP ability. It's called Assimilation. The other rare this month is called Galsa. I'm probably not saying that right, but we'll go with it. There is Galsa. There he is. Look at him. He's a Ferengi Borg. His officer abilities when fighting a Borg Solo Armada at the start of each round reduce the Armada's critical damage by X percentage for 1 round. Blah. The below deck ability, though, when fighting a player ship being assimilated, which is the new ability, Galsa increases the ship's mitigation by a set percentage each round, and this is a cumulative ability. So increased mitigation every single round that it goes on, not too shabby, but it does require Dazok to proc the ability because Dazok is the only one who can proc Assimilation. This month, we do have one epic officer, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed our honored and revered Borg Queen. She's the epic officer this month. Take a look right there. There she is. The officer ability is increasing crit hit chance when you are hit by a Borg Solo Armada. And again, this may not seem super impactful to me up front. However, the combination of these 3 officers might actually be a good crew for the new tally when fighting a Borg Solo Armada. Testing is going to be needed. But the below deck ability, though, actually very similar to Galsa. When the PvP opponent is being assimilated, the Queen increases piercing by a percentage each round in a cumulative form. So you got Galsa increasing mitigation cumulative, the Queen increasing piercing cumulative, and you've got Dazok, who actually is the one who is proccing the assimilate status, and those are all 3 below deck abilities, basically giving you your primary PvP crew up on the bridge and all 3 of these Borg on the below deck abilities, which is just going to be big time. There you go. 2 crews in 1, I guess. One for the tally, maybe as a 3rd ship against the BSAs, and the other having a huge impact on PvP. But ironically, the epic is not the cornerstone. It is the rare Dazok. Sourcing this month, though, well, obviously you can buy them all if you want. Even the epic Borg Queen. The Dukat Wayoon sourcing is back, guys, where you can buy packs to get shards of the Queen. And after X number of packs, you'll get the bonus unlock shards, so there's that. I will also note, there's no limit on the Queen pack. So you want a tier 5 Queen? Have at it. Should be cheap. However, for those of us grinding, Dazok and the Queen will both be available in the Borg Expansion Cube loot bundle. But not Galsa, not at this time, which is okay up front because, truthfully, Dazok is the more valuable. He is the required officer for the Queen and Galsa to actually work with the assimilated ability. There is no guaranteed path through events being offered for any of these officers this month, but like we've seen over the last couple of months, between Battle Pass and events and participation in the Borg expansion cube loop, then you should be able to work on those shards over time. At this time, I don't see any solo leaderboards for the Queen at this time. New systems have been deployed onto our map, and these systems will house new expansion cube armadas, which are the group armadas, just as a reminder, and new level 35 through 60 Borg probe hostiles. These will hit harder, but also scale up in the loot drops as well. We're being told that the number of hostiles you'd have to hit to do your daily tally refines are significantly less than what Borg is now, maybe adding some sanity back to the Borg loop. I said maybe. Also, for a point of reference, the Vidar Exos introduced last month, they will not work for the new tally. Think of those like a catch-up mechanism to get people to that Tier 9 Vidar, improve the grind, get them ready for this next chapter, but it was a stopgap, only temporary, and has no use once you build the tally. These new hostile systems are cell-gated by the same cells you're currently using in the game. So, hey, look on the bright side, there aren't any new currencies this month except for the Exchange Cube directives, but I digress. Now, regarding the Exos, they will still be good on the Vidar, and you will still have your Vidar, so you could use those, but they are using all of the same cell, the system cell locks, all right? Hey, real quick, do you guys remember the Dabo tables from, like, around this time last year? We like those, right? Well, this month, we are getting a Borgified version of those Dabo tables back into the game. You'll be earning event store loot throughout most of the events this month, and they will be spent in the event store tab for this Borg version of the Dabo wheels. Other items popping into the game this month are 3 new refits. Oh, I didn't get to show you the cube. Daggone it. Look, let me pull that up. Look, that's the cube. Actually, it looks kind of cool, doesn't it? 3 new refits coming into the game this month. One for the Amalgam, which will increase the loot shipability even higher, so better for raiding. It will be an assimilated. All three of these are Borg related. So you'll have an Amalgam skin, which is Borgified. You're also going to get a Stella skin, a Stella refit that increases the cost efficiency of Stella particles to help speed up progression through the Outlaw loop. And you're going to get a new Cerritos cloak, which allows you to buff another ship while it's cloaked. So, yeah. 2 new primes come this month as well, one of which increases inert nanoprobes collected with the Talios, and the second prime the second prime is Prime FKR Elite Recruit Research, which is increasing the payout of these wildly expensive and completely abandoned Elite Recruit tokens. So you can have fun with that if you wish. Also new to the game this month, starting at Ops 9, you're going to get in-game emojis. This is hailing frequencies from the roadmap, so you'll be able to equip and show emojis on the map from your ship in space. Crazy enough, there will be events this month that actually involve using these emojis and giving your friends and enemies in space a select set of new emojis. One can only hope that a middle finger emoji has been included. I'm sure it's not, but you know, a cat can dream. We will be doing our traditional event guide video in the coming days, but I can tell you that there will be early events for building and tiering the new tally, as well as spending charged nanoprobes on the new researches, and for the Talios and your Vidar. Plus, there's going to be more Fleet Commander solo leaderboards this month, scoring in the same fashion as last month, which is converting uncommon skill points and spending rare skill points. There you go, folks. That's all I got. That's it. Lots of info, very little imagery, but such is life. I hope you find something to enjoy about this arc. I'm highly suspect of the math in the Tally Refinery, but as long as that holds, it could be a very rewarding loop for those players still seeking faction credits and independent credits for those G5 that have no need for that stuff anymore, and of course can buy all the officer shards you want this month. I'm not exactly sure I see the benefit of engagement for you this month, but I guess we'll look around a little harder and see what may be lying underneath the rug. We'll see if we can dig it out. Community, that is the February arc. Does it sound interesting to you? Listen, maybe if you're in the target content sweet spot, which again appears to probably fall into the G4 generation, maybe late G3, maybe super early G5, but certainly not for mid to upper G5, maybe you find something that actually is going to bring you value here. And again, we do talk and look at transparent day one sourcing. And let's not forget, when we're talking about the tally, not even waiting to day 20, you're going to have it as early as day 8. You know, missing the mark on content for all of us, right? But definitely a content sweet spot this month, and hopefully finding some significant faction credit and independent credit payouts for the majority of the player base. Leave your comments and questions down below. We'll answer them as best we can. Subscribe and like and share with all your assimilated friends. And if you don't mind, hit that little bell so you know when this cat Borg does more content. My name is UltimatDjz, your friendly feline of 9, here for Talking Trek, teaching Trek here on the Assimilated Part 2, the final of 2 parts here in this February series inside Star Trek Fleet Command. I will catch you on the next one. More content coming up. Don't miss that stuff. Stay tuned. We got podcasts coming up. We got Talking in Cars coming up later this morning, and we'll do our best to answer all of those. Plus, President Echo on the stage coming up later on this morning, on the morning of ArcFall. My name is UltimatDjz. Y'all have a great night. Bye. Morning, afternoon-ish. Meow. Resistance is adorable. Meow.